Welcome back, my beautiful friends. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Coming up in the PoliticGal segment, brought to you by OGPay.com, we're featuring my dear friend, radio host, Rich Valdes, America's liberty-loving Latino amigo. Rich took over the late night radio time slot previously held by Larry King and Jim Bohannon. Introducing Rich Valdes, America at Night, brings late night radio alive each weeknight from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern with a perfect blend of news, interesting interviews, pop culture, and insight. Rich is well known in the Latino community as the voice of Hispanic conservatives. And how fitting is that voice? One narrative that emerged from the 2020 presidential election cycle was how Latinos around the country voted. And we all know how Donald Trump's campaign made inroads with Latino voters. Now, as 2024 looms near, media is once again raising the question of how Latinos will vote. The US Latino population has more than quadrupled in the past 40 years. We've seen a sharp uptick not only in the registration rate among Latinos eligible to vote, but also an increase in voter participation. There are many layered reasons Latinos have come to the Republican Party, from their own military experiences to anti-communism movements to Richard Nixon's outreach to Latinos via business opportunities like the National Economic Development Association. Tons of reasons. And here to give us insight on Hispanic conservatives, chat politics, and pop culture is the amazing Rich Valdes. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, Zen, what's going on?
Nice to have you back.
Likewise, it's always good to be with you.
Congratulations on all your success. No one deserves it more than you do.
No, you're very kind. Thank you.
Okay, let's talk about the amazing shoes and slot that you are filling. You were quoted saying, and let me remind you, because this is a very, very important quote. You said, "No one can ever fill Jim's shoes, but I consider it a blessing and a great honor to be part of the next generation of late night talk show hosts following the tradition of Jim Bohannon and Larry King, connecting with the amazing audience on all these excellent affiliates." Take that in again, Rich. Close your eyes for me. This is 2023 for you. Congrats. And now talk to me about this amazing opportunity.
Well, yeah, it really is a tremendous blessing to like I said, follow in the footsteps of these guys. I often wonder, there's probably so many people that are more qualified than I, but I got the gig and I'm thrilled to be there. It's such an amazing time when you're able to connect with people. We're currently on 300 radio stations. We're live for 3 hours every night. And when you connect with an audience that large, it's about 6.5 million people. It really is. It's something like, it's like a high, so I enjoy live radio. I love being able to connect with people. And what's unique about the program, from what I've always done, commentary and not really had a lot of guests on my program. This is an interview show, so there's always guests on the program. And that's somewhat new for me, but it's also really interesting because you get to learn a lot from these guests. And it's kind of like a national late night town hall forum that the whole country is in on. And the final hour of the program, we open it up for whatever topic anybody wants. And it's called Open Phone America. It was started by Larry King back in the 1970s. And I talk to everybody about everything. And I got to tell you, that is such a unique experience, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the best of Rich Valdes America at Night, that's when you think of everything that you've done. I mean, that's the compilation of the week's best moments, and I know that airs Saturday from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. So you have all these perfect slots positioned throughout our country, and lots of people are listening to you. Talk to me about how you ended up in the slot that you did, and what kind of headliners. I know you said you're going to have guests and interviews, but what kind of headliners and guests can we expect? Are you reactive news or proactive news?
Yeah, well, probably a little bit of both. So the way we approach the show is in the 10 o'clock hour. I start off with a monologue and follow it up with somebody that's a newsmaker from the day, whomever it may be. So whether it's somebody that's making headlines like President Trump, or somebody that is, right in the news. Like we had the dad whose daughter was raped in the bathroom of a public high school by a boy that was wearing a skirt in Loudoun County, Virginia. He spoke out at the school board meeting about this horrific thing that happened to him, and he was arrested. So we had him on the show to tell his side of the story. And, so sometimes it's pleasant news, sometimes it's really serious news. And then once we get into the 11 o'clock hour, we loosen it up a little bit and have, whether it's sportcasters like Stephen A. Smith or others, or entertainers. We've had Tony Orlando, absolutely amazing interview we had with Tony Orlando, and so many others. We try to keep it as diverse as we can on the entertainment side. So it's really a compilation of talking to people from different walks of life. And of course, in that final hour, we talk to everybody across America in the open phone segment.
I love the open phone segment. That's brilliant, because that's where you really truly connect and people get excited.
Yeah.
And of course, your current podcast, which I'm a huge fan of, I listen to it all the time. This is
Thank you.
America with Rich Valdes. That moves to the Cumulus Podcast Network and pushes out every Friday. And in that podcast, you really break down American politics, and truly you take your listeners on this amazing journey. You say it well, through poverty, prosperity, and politics, with a lot of humor, analysis, and I love the way you put it, a dash of sofrito. Okay, let's chat Latino voters and Hispanic conservatives. So Richard Nixon's outreach to Latinos via business opportunities like the National Economic Development Association, and Nixon being the first president to make the highly symbolic move of appointing the first Mexican-American woman as U.S. Treasurer of the United States. It actually became a tradition in the 70s and 80s for the Republican Party to appoint Hispanic women to this role. So for Nixon, it was all about inclusion, and it's all about bringing Latinos not only into the Republican Party as voters, but in these leadership positions, so to speak. Rich, will we see the Latino community come out to vote in record numbers in 2024 as they did in 2020? And in your opinion, which party does the Hispanic community currently stand with?
Yeah, well, I would say the Democrats still have the monopoly on Democrats, but I think it's slowly dissipating, and more Hispanics, Latinos are realizing that voting for Democrats hasn't gotten them where they want to be. And quite frankly, I go to a small Cuban restaurant to get my café con leche every morning. They do a great job with the espresso. Super nice guy. This guy came from Havana to Key West on a jet ski on a 6-hour ride. And he's been in the country 20 years now. He's a citizen and he's a business owner. And we talk about politics whenever I go in there. And it's a really good time. And he was telling me today, he said, what's going on with the old guy? And I said, what old guy? And he said, your president, Joe Biden. I said, that's your president. And he tells me, well, listen, he says, Joe Biden, he called him El Viejito. He says, El Viejito is in bad shape. He said, what's going on at the border is an absolute travesty. Now, again, this is a guy, a legal immigrant, came here illegally, waited online, did the paperwork, did what he had to do, and is a citizen today. And he's saying, we can't allow this. He was telling me there's people in Cuba that are coming here. He said, these are the worst of the worst in Cuba. And I said, I've never really met a lazy or bad Cuban in my time of meeting immigrants in this country. And he said, that's because they usually keep them in jail. He said, but with yeah, that's what he said. But with migration being what it is, he said, the Cubans are happy to let go of the people to empty out some of their jails and let them make this trek to the southern border or through wherever they're coming. So it's really interesting to see how he did not support illegal immigration. He identifies as a Democrat, and he doesn't support Biden's border policy. So I think there's a lot more like him. I think there's a lot more like me, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that trend continue as we move forward in future elections.
Yeah, without a doubt. And listen, when you look at the strides that each party is making, I'm just going to go back to facts, because if you had to take a guess on which American political party would produce the first Mexican-born congresswoman, which one would it be? The Democrats or the party of Donald Trump?
Yeah, you would.
As though to prove that nothing in American politics today is predictable, it is indeed the latter. 2 weeks ago, Myra Flores flipped a Democrat-friendly Texas congressional seat in a special election and became both the first Republican Latina rep from the state of Texas and the first Mexican-born member of the House. She even thanked Trump for her victory. So there you have it. I mean, facts are facts.
Yeah, 100%. And look, and that was in the Rio Grande Valley. And I know when she ran for re-election, she wasn't successful, but I think she's going to run again, and I think she'll win again in the future, because it was a special election where she got in. And I think this is indicative of the battle, right, that's going on for the political football known as the Hispanic part of the electorate. And I think that's going to continue to happen with Hispanics becoming the largest minority demographic in the country. So the largest, the majority minority, I should say, they've gotten a lot of attention. And what's interesting to me is that you're seeing things like, not only did Mayra Flores in that historic win that you're talking about win a seat for the Republicans, but she won a seat that was held by Democrats for something like 150 years. So I think, you're seeing the tide start to shift. And again, they put up a big fight. They got it back. But I think it's in play. You saw Ana Paulina Luna in South Florida. She also won a seat. So I think there's a lot more Hispanic women that are stepping up and a lot more Hispanic women that are winning, which I think we're going to continue to see.
I love it. And I love that you're at the forefront of propelling women, especially on the political front. You're a great supporter, and you're a great friend, and you actually see things through, not just from the male's perspective. I know you have two daughters that you love very much, and you're so uplifting with them as a dad. But I also know that your daughters look up to you politically, and they are of a different generation. Obviously, when you're looking at Gen Alpha or Gen Z, right? Those are very swayable demographics, right? They just kind of very sheepish. But when you're out there advocating for the right voice, for the right cause, with the proper statistics, because statistics don't lie, then it's clear to see why you are, the new voice of Hispanic conservatives, and really across 6 million people. I mean, that's a big number. Now, listen, You've come such a long way. Okay, we're going to leave politics on the side for just a minute here. We have 2 minutes left. What are your goals for 2023, Rich? And if you can give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Wow, really good question. Well, I think a piece of advice to my younger self would be to go for it. And I was a pretty good risk taker as a young man, but I feel like after I got married and became a dad, I became less of a risk taker. I think my advice would be to keep taking the risks. I think the old saying, no risk, no reward, there's a lot of truth in that, and I would stick by that. And I think goals for 2023 is, obviously I'm in this brand new show. I'm on a multi-year contract, but that doesn't last forever. So I want to make sure we do an amazing job and, grow the show. We came in with a lot of affiliates. I'm hoping that we keep those and grow to, several more affiliates in major markets. And just sky's the limit, and that's the goal.
Amazing stuff lined up for you. You are such a hard worker. I couldn't be more happy and more proud, and I'm so excited that you came on to share all the good news on our platform.
Yeah, well, a moment of Zen is an amazing place to be. This is an amazing platform, just the same. And you telling me I'm a hard worker. I don't know anybody who's working harder than you, Zen. So congratulations to you and your show, and a big salute to your audience as well.
Oh, thanks, Rich. You're the best. Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Trying to reduce Latino voters in one easily understood soundbite is totally unhelpful. The story of Latino conservatives is in many ways just like the story of American conservatives. Rich Valdes at Night is syndicated by Cumulus Media's Westwood One each weeknight from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. Rich talks with special guests and loyal callers about a spectrum of topics ranging from current events and politics to entertainment and pop culture, and he's heard over 300 affiliates. Definitely check him out at Rich Valdes. That's richvaldes.com. Valdez with an S, not a Z. That was our PoliticGal segment brought to you by ogpay.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Caldwell Soames Incorporated, investing globally in transformative businesses like Original Digital Corporation, or ODC. ODC develops advanced consumer and commercial fintech solutions such as OG Pay, which will transform the way you manage your money. From sending and receiving money globally for free, paying for goods and services in person and online, pay bills, buy and sell digital currencies, all while earning interest. OG Pay is easy to set up, FDIC insured, and your information is secured. Check out ogpay.com.